my compadre from the NFL Media Group, Steve Smith, here on the show. How are you, Steve?
Hey, Rich. How are you?
Do you think Adrian Peterson said "I love you" to Sean Payton?
The translation would be "I love you." Yes, that is not what he said.
Well, what do you look? You've been on the sidelines for decades. What do you think happened in that exchange, Steve?
I think somebody probably said something. He turned around and looked. AP was right there. AP said something, or he looked back at him. AP kind of said it like what? Hey, I'm right here waiting on you. I just think it was the emotions of the game. AP's back home. And then also, too, they weren't winning. They weren't being successful. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
So, but how do those things happen on the sidelines where coaches decide who gets in the game?
A lot of things happen on the sideline that the cameras don't catch. I've seen and heard where coaches have gotten into it and almost got to a fist fight, offensive, defensive coaches. Things happen on the sideline that people don't always know. And here's the other thing. Guys want to win so much, and you put in all the hours in the game plan, and then when sometimes things get derailed and changes are made, there's a little bit of frustration that accumulates on the sideline.
Now, obviously, you wouldn't know about frustration in taking on a team that let you go.
Never experienced it in my life.
No, I know, because you balled out against the Carolina Panthers when the Ravens put you on the field against them. What would have happened, though, if you were in that game and you weren't getting the ball, Steve? Would you have done what Adrian did?
I mean, yeah, you're going to say something. It wasn't like, I would always say this, if you're going to pass me up, you better be passing me up for success. If you're going to give the ball or do other things that are going opposite my way, make sure that you're doing it in a good way. There's a few times when I first got to Baltimore and I was kind of running some routes and they threw the ball to another guy and I was kind of joking, but I was dead serious. I told Joe, I was like, if you keep going to that fast food restaurant, you're gonna keep getting the same result. This is Fleming's. I'm a Ruth's Chris over here. You won't find dining come my way. You keep going and getting that Happy Meal over there. You see what's happening. And so I would joke around and stuff like that, but I was dead serious too. And Joe kind of knew it was like, all right, And so in the competitiveness of it, you want the ball, especially. It's Monday Night Football. I think it is more about getting the ball just despite the opponent. At the end of the day, when you look at that time and what was going on, they weren't playing well. They weren't running the ball. They weren't doing the things that everybody expected. Everybody talks about Sean Payton, his pass-happy offense. Well, you got AP. You're supposed to be running the ball with AP, right? Catching the ball out of the backfield, doing some of the things that they were doing is not the identity that you want to have when you lack the playmakers that I think the New Orleans Saints lack.
Steve Smith, my compadre on the NFL Network. You can catch him every single Sunday morning to start your game day at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, now right here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then in that game, I mean, my gosh, the Vikings offense looked like a juggernaut, Steve. I mean, how much should we read into week one performances like, say, what we saw with Kansas City and New England or Minnesota last night against New Orleans, just for instances? What do you think?
I think you read into them, one, with the Kansas City Chiefs, you see how many playmakers they have. You see how much they lack athleticism for the New England Patriots on defense when you compare them to all the guys with swivel hips that they had with Kansas City. Then when you look at the New Orleans Saints and you look at the Minnesota Vikings, I look at that team as that defense stepped up, finished exactly where they finished up at the end of the season, is playing well, being a top 5 defense, and then now giving up the offense more and more opportunities to capitalize on them. So they're doing good. And then Dalvin Cook is running the ball well. They pass the ball well. They ran it down their throats well. They all around played 3 great phases of the game, and New Orleans Saints did. And I think the New Orleans Saints are going to have some trouble against the New England Patriots because the New Orleans Saints don't have the playmakers that the Kansas City Chiefs have.
Steve Smith joining me here on the show. Ask him the poll question, Brockman, for Steve Smith to chime in on here.
Yeah, Steve, after 1 week, which team should be most concerned? Giants, Patriots, Redskins, Seahawks.
What do you think, Steve?
I think the Washington Redskins and the Giants. One, starting off the Giants, they have a star-studded offense. Brandon Marshall, Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Sharp, Evans, Eli Manning. But they can't get they don't run the ball very well. Their offensive line struggles, and they just did not look in sync. And to have an offensive-minded coach, they looked very pedestrian. As far as the Washington Redskins, I watched them in the preseason, and one main concern I had is their offensive line has a hard time dealing with the TE stunts and running and dealing with blitzes. And, I did an XO on our show, and they were on the 1 yard line, and I won't say his name because I don't want a name call, but the center, did not block the nose tackle in front of him, and it ended up being a 3 yard loss on the 1 yard line. When you're a center and a dude lining up in front of you on the 1 yard line, ding, ding, ding. You may want to block that dude.
He's standing right across from you. I hear you. But I guess with the Giants, though, can they chalk it up to basically say Odell was out, and that's why we were out of sync? It's week 1. We're still working on a few things.
Okay, they were in the bottom. They were near the bottom of the statistical chart on third down and rushing. Third down conversion and rushing. Those two indications tells me that when they're passing the ball, if they get sacked, that they are not able to get out of the hole because they become predictable. When you become predictable, teams tee off on you. And that's what's going to continue to happen with them. They were 11-6 and barely squeaked in the playoffs, went in the playoffs, tried to throw the ball 28.6% of the time. Out of those 6 losses they had, that's how many times that's the percentage of times they ran the ball. So 71.6% of the time they're throwing the ball. That means you're predictable. And when you're predictable, that's like when you're starting to lose in the third and fourth quarter and you're running your 2-minute drill. It becomes the defense, they salivate because all they do is tee off, they sit in zone coverage, and guys just blitz. You can't do that. And
then what is the malfunction, I guess is the only way to put it, with the Seahawks offense that seems to rear its head every year and I'm like, why don't they run Russell Wilson? Are they afraid of getting him hurt? Because he seems to be the weapon that they don't use nearly enough are his legs without it being him improvising, Steve, because he thinks that the play's broken down. Or it has.
I really think that Green Bay's secondary is a lot better than what people thought, and they're gelling well, and I think they just are playing better. A lot of times what's going on in week 1, some of these teams, the teams that you question their secondary have improved dramatically, and the teams have added some weapons, and they're doing some schemes to change up the things that they didn't do well, and the teams that you assume they're going to be successful are not doing well. A great example is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody's talking about how rusty Le'Veon Bell looked. He didn't have a huge workload. I think he got, 15 plays. That's not a rhythm. And then every time he got the ball, the linemen there were people in the backfield. That's not an indication that he's rusty. That's an indication they have an O-line issue.
And last one for you, Steve, is I've got Baker Mayfield coming up in the middle of this hour. I don't know if you saw on Saturday night, you might have been tucked into bed getting ready for your early rise on Sunday morning after beating Ohio State. He took the Oklahoma flag and planted it right in the middle of the field. And then after the game, thought about it. Yesterday, he apologized for it. What'd you think of that moment?
Well, yeah, he's going to apologize because people are going to harass him. He's also a millennium, so he worries about his social media, what people are saying. But at the end of the day, he did exactly what they did. He balled on that field, and he took a crap on it. That's what you do in college. That's the best thing about college. You say Bumper, and not with the B.
Steve, love you, man. We'll chat again soon. Great job Sunday, and look forward to more of us chatting.
Hey, appreciate it. And Michael Irvin did not text me after I was correct.
About which one were you correct on, Steve? You were correct about a lot of things.
And Janoris Jenkins.
Well, and there was even a pass interference on Jenkins. I don't even think he deserved. He's kind of. Would you agree?
I would agree. So okay. Mike did not text me.
Okay, that's odd, Steve, because normally he's a very texting type, but maybe he just doesn't like to be wrong. This is fun.
Maybe I should have Seahorn text him, and then he might text me.
Steve Smith in the mix, everybody. That was when he joined Game Day Morning in the 9 a.m. hour Eastern time. That was fun. Steve, we'll chat again soon, okay?
Appreciate it.
Love it. You got it. That's Steve Smith, Agent 89.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app, and I'll be sure to help the NFL figure out what a catch is.